So you can't even deny it. The Detroit Lions are set up well beyond the future, and they might be the best team moving forward if you're really looking at plan of attack, pick acquisition, player development, and just the scheme. Yes, their defense struggled big time last year. They did get better over the course of the year, without a doubt, but they're going to have plenty of picks. 5 in the top 100 this upcoming draft, 2 in the top 18. And really, they already have drafted really well. When you look at their promising rookie class, Aiden Hutchinson jumps right off the page. Don't forget about 6th rounder James Houston, though, who also had himself a really good season rushing the passer. In addition to that, Josh Paschal's a guy I like a lot out of Kentucky. Malcolm Rodriguez is a very, very talented cover linebacker. He's great in coverage. Kirby Joseph is very talented in his own right. So there are some guys here that you have to look at the defense for what it is. They're going to fix this. And it's why I'm making this video today, because I'm just going to come out and say it. I think the Detroit Lions are not only a Super Bowl contender next year, potentially even a Super Bowl favorite, but I think they can become one of the best teams in the league and stay that way for quite a while. Dan Campbell, I said over and over again on Twitter, I didn't really talk about it much. I don't think I had a YouTube at the time, but either way, I don't think I talked about it on YouTube, but Dan Campbell, I was all for. And, I disagreed with the way people like he's not a traditional coach, whatnot. Okay, fine. I think he was the right coach to grab. I really do. And I've said that. You go back and you look at his days with the Dolphins as an assistant interim head coach, if you will. And then, he kind of got things going, back on that coaching track, with the Saints. Now he goes to the Lions. And to me, Dan Campbell is a leader of men. I don't need him to have an offensive, scheme that's incredible. I don't need him to have a defensive scheme that's incredible. I need him to lead, and that's what he's doing. But more importantly, he's developing coaches. And if you want to look at one guy he's developing, it is Ben Johnson, the 36-year-old offensive coordinator who was a tight ends coach. Look, Dan Campbell had to make a tough decision here. Anthony Lynn was not cutting it. He liked Anthony Lynn. I think a lot of people like Anthony Lynn. He's probably one of the most likable guys in the coaching circuit, but they had to make a move. And so they let Anthony Lynn go. He went to the 49ers in an assistant coach role, and in steps Ben Johnson on the promotion, going from tight end coach to offensive coordinator. The Lions instantaneously become a top 5 offense. Everything looks different. Jared Goff looks different. Everything looks different for the offense. They're very, very good. Yes, the defense struggled early on in the season. They got better over time. Still not good enough. I think they'll change, but that offense is going to remain the same because Ben Johnson did something we rarely see. He turned down head coaching opportunities because he wants to stay in Detroit because he believes they're building something special. And let me just tell you right now, that could have been a disaster for Detroit. I don't think it would have been, but it could have been. And now that he's coming back, it's the same offense for Jared Goff. It's the same offense for everyone included. I think the Lions have to be easily the favorite to win that division. I think the Vikings are really good, but the issue is that they need to work out some things. And honestly, I trust Jared Goff in the playoffs more than I trust Kirk Cousins. And I mean, honestly, just look at the resume. Jared Goff went to the Super Bowl, and Kirk Cousins threw a check down on 4th and 8 that lost him the game. Look, the Lions are for real. And they should have been in the playoffs, and they were screwed, and we all know that. But regardless, just sitting here and complaining and doing all that, that doesn't add any value to this video. What adds value to this video is my thoughts and basically explaining why I feel this way. I don't just wake up and was like, yeah, I'm going to make a video on the Lions because that sounds like fun. No, it's on my mind, and it's something I have been really pondering for a while. I've been trying to make this video, and this was before Ben Johnson came back. Now that Ben Johnson's back, I have to make this video. The Lions start out 1-6. They played some really good teams. They had some close games. The Eagles could end up winning the NFC, and they started the season with them, lost a close one. They start at 1-6. They finished the season 8-2. Okay, so that's a very, very good look for the Lions. And let me just tell you something. Last year, the Lions finished strong. I understand they didn't win many games, but the way they played towards, the end of the year not only saved Dan Campbell's job, in my opinion, but I think really bled into this year in a good way. Again, offense is top 5. They can go from 5 to number 1 next year, if I'm being honest. The defense is going to improve, I believe. You have these different guys that you want to build around, but most importantly, you have guys like Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, guys that I've already mentioned coming from the draft. Those are going to be the key guys to build around and to continue to pile on top of. In addition to that, on the offensive side, going back there, Jared Goff returns. The offensive line in its entirety returns, unless there is a cap casualty. If there is, maybe it's Halapuli Vaitai. I don't know. But there's a chance that happens. And, they're going to lose DJ Chark. He was a 1-year, $10 million deal. Maybe they bring him back cheaper. I don't know. I thought he had a decent season. Not quite what we expect from DJ Chark when fully healthy, but a decent season nonetheless. Weapons galore. You talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, who just picked up where he left off last year, and he looked every bit the part of a number 1 receiver. Then you have Jameson Williams, who I'm incredibly excited about. He was the number 1 wide receiver in this class. Don't let anybody fool you. And he got healthy towards the end of the year, and they still didn't use him anywhere near as much as they wanted to because he's just not quite there yet. He doesn't know the playbook the way that other guys would. He just didn't play a lot. So next year, clean slate. This guy is going to have a big time. I think he's going to have a big time season. I think he has a chance to be absolutely dynamic. We're talking what you saw out of Garrett Wilson, maybe dialing up a little bit more. I think he's that good. Then you have Josh Reynolds, who has that rapport with Jared Goff, and he'll be back at least for another year. Khalif Raymond, who can not only help you in the offensive game and as somebody that can be a gadget guy, but also on special teams. So that's somebody to keep in mind there. James Mitchell, okay, remember the name. He's a 5th round talent at tight end. He's the reason they didn't even bother trying to figure out TJ Hawkinson, right? They're going to have to pay him a lot of money. They instead decided to get the pick from Minnesota. It was a weird trade at the time. He could come back to bite the Lions, but James Mitchell is very exciting to me. I'm very excited for James Mitchell. I think his development is going to be very fascinating. And with an offensive coordinator that's already had, so much experience in the tight end room, I don't think he's going to neglect James Mitchell. Excited about him next year. So if you're doing the math, you got the offense pretty much intact. Quarterback's fine. Running backs are fine. Oh, wait, there's one little thing. And it's a big thing, actually. 1,000-yard rusher and 17 touchdown scorer. Jamal Williams is a free agent. He signed a 1-year deal, and damn, he looked really good. Or 2-year deal. But here's the thing, though, okay? We do not know if Jamal Williams will be back. We don't. And while he seems to love Detroit, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was, they could still replace him. And I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world. I do think DeAndre Swift is injury prone to an extent where I feel like you can't just make him the guy. You need to have somebody to spell his carries, right? So I think Jamal Williams makes a lot of sense for that reason, but I also think there are other guys that make sense. And, one's in the draft. I mean, I'm not saying to spend the 6th overall pick you got from the Matthew Stafford trade on a running back, but if you were going to, Bijan Robinson sure wouldn't be a bad decision to make. I personally would take a 6th and an 18th overall pick and plug them into the defense. Go out and get another pass rusher. Go out and get a corner. Help that defense out. I think that's going to be integral and very crucial for this Lions team. Now, I do think you draft best player available. No doubt about it. But I do feel like a lot of those guys could be defense, and I think they need help on the defensive side for sure. While I expect them to make adjustments, to make some strides this year and be better, I need that defense to be top 15 because the offense is carrying the workload, and you got to at least be top 15. You can't have any of that bottom of the NFL stuff, or you're not going to win a Super Bowl that way. So this team, the way I see it, has a chance next year. They have a lot to figure out on the defense, but they have so much already figured out. And I don't think people are entirely going to see this big of a jump coming. But this was a massive coaching job by Dan Campbell, who is under, serious scrutiny, starting 1-6. I mean, who could obviously blame anybody for putting anyone under scrutiny for that? But Goff looks really good right now, okay? In the system, he's comfortable, okay? Then now you have Ben Johnson coming back. That doesn't mean he'll be there forever, but you get another year with him. That means you can start adding, because he was implementing his offense last year and look at what happened. One might argue, okay, no one had tape of Ben Johnson's offense, and then this season was, cutting edge. It was a whirlwind. Like, we couldn't believe what he was doing. Fine. But now Ben Johnson has an opportunity to add on to that offense, do different things that maybe he didn't want to do in an intro season, right? Because this is an introduction. He just started this. This is his first time as a play caller. He did a really darn good job. So Jared Goff, as long as he doesn't regress, which I can't see him doing, they're going to have a quarterback at the helm. They've committed to him. That is a good sign. I think all the pieces are there. And I think when you look at everything, Brad Holmes has a very, very good roster that he's putting together. I know people were critical when they didn't win many games last year. People were still critical when they were 1-6 this year about the head coach, about maybe Brad Holmes isn't that guy. I think Brad Holmes is not only the guy, but I also think Dan Campbell is. And I think Ben Johnson is one of the best offensive coordinators in all of football. It only took 1 year for him to establish that. So, in conclusion, will the Lions win the Super Bowl? I'm not willing to go that far out into the future. I don't know who's going to win the Super Bowl next year. But what I do know is that the Lions are going to be very competitive. They're going to be better than 9-8. And I would not be surprised if not only they win the division, but they go to the NFC title game. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they're playing the Rams in the playoffs, because I do think that team will be back as well. But that's how I have it. So I'm very curious to hear what you guys think. Personally, you guys know I've been a very big critic of Jared Goff. That doesn't mean I dislike him. I'm a big critic of Sean McVay, and I love the guy. But I've been a big critic of Jared Goff because he doesn't really create off script. He's not a Josh Allen. That's not his game. That's okay, right? That's fine. But what Ben Johnson has done for him has been amazing, and it has allowed Jared Goff to kind of operate in almost like a phone booth type of way. And that's not really a term that people use unless they're talking about an offensive lineman that just kind of is more like a statue. But what I see with Jared Goff is that now, he's got everything sorted out. He's got the weapons. He's got the offense in mind. He's got, the play calls. Now he just needs to let his God-given talent do the work. And that arm strength is there. The accuracy is there, right? He looked really good this past year, made some significant strides after what people were calling potentially a bust, and maybe this guy's gone. But instead, the Lions decided not to spend that pick on a quarterback. They stuck by him, and I applaud them for it. And that is Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes, make no mistake, wasn't just giving the Rams a deal, okay? They had to trade a lot for Stafford, and the Lions got a franchise quarterback potentially out of Jared Goff, and it's sure looking more like it's trending in the direction of he is a franchise quarterback for them. So, I'm very excited about that because I think it's a very good environment for Goff to succeed. He's got a lot of weapons. We'll see if they add other weapons. I don't think they need to go crazy. I know that's the fun option to do. You got a lot of talent. You got a great offense. Let's go out and get some, big time. I don't know if they have to do that. I would focus on the defense, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. And if they did, I mean, it could only make them even more dangerous. So that's how I have it. I think the Lions are going to win the division next year. I think you look at the Bears. I like Justin Fields. I don't love Justin Fields. I don't really love the direction the Bears are going in. I don't really know what direction they're going in. They just kind of seem like they're there to me. Then you look at the Packers. I don't know who's going to be the quarterback next year. And regardless, it feels like they're going into a rebuild. And if they're not going into a rebuild, they're being forced to compete because Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. So that's another thing. And then the Vikings, I really like Kevin O'Connell, and I believe he might be the best coach in this division. But at the same time, I have to say, I don't think Kirk Cousins, as much as I've defended him, the glass shattered for me. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be enough for this team to be as good as they need to be. He makes way too many mistakes. He doesn't show up in clutch, opportunities and in prime time, what have you. And Jared Goff, bottom line is people can trash him all they want, but Jared Goff played in a Super Bowl. He had a decent run to get to that Super Bowl. He's played in big games. He has that experience, and he's going to have to be a leader for them because this team is yet to play in a playoff game because they got screwed out. Jared has. Jared has performed in those games. He's going to be the guy that they need to lead them. So if you're a Lions fan watching this, you're welcome. I know you've been waiting for this. I know a lot of Lions fans ask me, when are we going to get a Lions video? And I have a lot of Lions fans that follow. So thank you for following the channel. Hopefully this paid off for you. But, you know, at the end of the day, though, and I know I keep saying that, but I mean, this is a good football team. You know, I'm not trying to say anything to get your hopes up. I really believe this. And I hope people realize, you know, they got 5 picks in the top 100. They got, you know, they have cap space. It's not a ton, but they could figure out ways. They can really turn this team into a juggernaut next year, and no one should be surprised. But that's going to do it for me. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed this video, and I'm out of here. Later, folks.